What's up guys, Professor R here. Unfortunately I became the very thing that I made fun of. The guy who doesn't finish video series.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
I created a video series titled How I Trained When Gyms Closed. And I have part 1 of it. I have a video titled How I Trained When Gyms Closed Part 1. It's basically a shitty video where I got a bunch of my drawings and I tried to draw the movements and animate them. It's just shitty tip plan, but I procrastinated the hell out of creating this video yet again, even though I promised I would never do that bullshit again. But I kept finding excuses for why I wouldn't upload, and the excuse I was going to give myself right now is, oh, it's too cold in the apartment. Who gives a fuck? We'll just fucking hammer it out. Okay, so this is basically how I trained for back, biceps, and shoulders, because yeah, I didn't have access to the gym, of course, because coronavirus bullshit. You already know what happened in 2020, but this video can apply to anyone who wants to train back, biceps, and shoulders effectively without having access to a gym. So even if you are gyms are open right now, this is still applicable to those who don't have the resources. So on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I would train back, biceps, and shoulders in this manner. So I would start off with pull-ups / chin-ups. Now I did / chin-ups because I wasn't strong enough to hammer out a bunch of pull-ups for 10 to 15 reps. Yeah, I was a weak little bitch, man. I couldn't fucking. My strength freaking plummeted really bad. Even before then, pull-ups were my strong suit. And yeah, I ended up getting stronger because of it. So it's a bit ironic. So pull-ups / chin-ups for 10 sets. Yeah, 10 sets of 10 to 12 reps with 2-minute rest in between. My logic behind this was the back can take a lot of beating. So the back muscles, whatever, it's just this sheer composition of muscle group that can take a bunch of damage. So you have the rhomboids, you have the trapezius, you have the lataris medius. I don't know what these names are called precisely. I'm probably butchering the fuck out of that last one. I couldn't even pronounce it correctly, but the back's composed of a lot of fucking movements, and pull-ups are just king. Yes, I want to deadlift. However, we all know deadlifts contribute mostly to back thickness and not back width. Pull-ups will give you a very aesthetic back. And I wasn't the greatest at pull-ups, but I ended up working my way up to 15 reps on a set at one point, and I was just proud of myself. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so that's how I first started off with. And then the second movement would be inverted bar rows. I don't know how to, this isn't even the correct name of it, whatever, inverted bar rows. So it's basically you have the bar in front of you, well, not in front of you, but you're below the bar, you're hanging kind of, and you're pulling yourself up, and your legs are a bit straight. Hell, I might have to draw this shit. I might have to draw a short diagram or to illustrate the exercise that I'm talking about, because my description of it, my verbal description of it, is kind of autistic and shit. So you're gonna have to look at this image in order to understand what the fuck I'm talking about. So essentially, you're moving on the way up, whatever, you're slowly going on the way down, the essential portion of the actual movement. And this is performed similarly, 10 sets, 10 to 12 reps, with a 2-minute rest in between, of course, because you have to do 2-minute rests on compounds, because why the hell not? That's my bro science logic. Next we had bicep curls with resistance bands. So initially I had the very shitty resistance band that I had since high school. It was red, and I ended up snapping that shit in half. Then I went on Amazon.com and I purchased ones that were pretty fucking good. They were awesome. Pretty fucking good. I ended up doing bicep curls with them for 12 sets of 10 to 12 reps with 1 minute rest in between. Now you will see this. I have a tendency to only apply a minute rest for isolation movements because they're not that taxing. Yes, it's very taxing on the actual muscle fibers, but they recover fairly quickly. They recover fairly quickly relative to movements such as the deadlift, which is an extreme case. It's an extreme instance. A lot of people, I know people who acquire 3 minutes rest in between. But a bicep curl, conversely, no. It can recover roughly to a minute. So you rest a minute and performance shouldn't degrade that much. And if it does degrade that much, that's an indicator that you probably should move on to the next exercise. Thankfully enough, this is just a basic bitch bicep curl with resistance bands. So yes, you're able to manipulate the actual weight of the actual, weight isn't the proper terminology I should use here. Proper terminology I should use is resistance, because they're resistance bands. Get it? And I'm not talking about the cheap piece of shit tube resistance bands. I mean the ones that, so they're commonly used to assist you when doing pull-ups. You want to use those resistance bands. Let me see if I can get it with me right now. I'm not gonna edit myself. So yeah, you want to use these. These are superior. They're much better than the ones that these jackasses were selling on Alibaba. No, these jackasses were selling on Amazon after they purchased stock from Alibaba, like for pennies, and selling it to poor people for quadruple the amount of the pricing. Hell, not even fucking 500 times, making 500 times a profit. So they're buying cheap Alibaba bullshit and they're selling it to you, promising you these big ass steroid-like bodies, and that's not the case. So these bands are superior. You know, get you a pair of these bands if you're gonna be willing to try this program. So yeah, the bicycles are performed for 12 sets, 10 of 12 reps with a minute rest in between. And I followed that with face pulls with the resistance band. So face pulls, yes, I do love face pulls. Say what you want about Athlete X, you know, it doesn't really matter in a sense where try to separate the movement from the actual individual in question you despise. Just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just take aspects that you like about a certain, you know, take certain aspects you like about what a certain person says. You might not agree with their approach to life or their supposed natty status, if you will, or their supposed way of training, but if something works, apply it. If it don't apply, let it fly. You know, you don't have to just reject everything they say. If you agree with certain things, accept that as a reality. Face pulls will be performed for 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps with 1 minute rest in between. I'm strictly basing this off memory. Prior to writing this down, I had to really think what the fuck I did 2 years ago when I was doing this whole crusade against, you know, becoming a very atrophied bitch. And looking back, I did perform face pulls for probably more sets than this. However, I'm being a bit conservative because on certain days it was probably not like this. I probably added more volume to it. But essentially, yeah, face pulls were performed on, you know, yeah, because why I'm reluctant to say I did it for more than four sets, because the inverted bar rolls, they targeted rear delts to a massive extent as well. Like I remember feeling a really tight sensation, like on the, you know, the rear portion of my shoulder. I felt it was super tight, really tight. I felt like I really trained that shit hard as fucking. And rear delts felt like it was like, it felt more like an overkill, but you cannot. But that's a bit paradoxical because you cannot overtrain rear delts. It's the least trained portion of the actual shoulder. Conversely, like I mentioned in the previous video, the anterior delt, we all train it every fucking day. Like it's trained in a lot of movements. And I followed this with pipe. Wait, did I describe the set and rep range? I probably didn't, but if I didn't do it, I'm gonna say it again. So face pulls with resistance bands, 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps with a minute rest. And I follow this with pipe push-ups. Now, pipe push-ups, I'm probably gonna have to draw or create a better illustration of it. I just love drawing, you know. But so pipe push-ups, whatever. It's basically where your ass is kind of in the air and you're kind of in this. You're kind of in like, would pike shape be appropriate? No, pike shape wouldn't be appropriate. But you're kind of in like this pyramid shape. Your body's in this pyramid shape, and you're pressing down with your you know, with your shoulder, whatever, being the main emphasizer. You're trying to get your chest out of it. You're pressing down. You're pressing back up. And the purpose of this is to target the you know, lateral portion of the actual delt. Because I didn't have access to machines, I didn't have access to proper dumbbells. I didn't, you know, I wasn't. Hell, I probably couldn't even get the 20s. Like the old 20-pound dumbbells we had back in our old apartment, I couldn't fucking find them sons of bitches on certain days. So, and I wasn't carrying more weights to the fucking park, right? So I decided, let's get creative. Let's do pipe push-ups. And on certain days, I would superset 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps of pipe push-ups with shoulder presses with a resistance band. And I remember doing one shoulder at a time on certain days because I just felt, you know, strong as fuck on certain days, and I would do, you know, 2 shoulders at a time on certain days, but I would superset them occasionally because I had classes coming up. I was you know, a broke college kid, and I had classes essentially on a certain time, and I wanted to quickly get out of the park and review for certain things, whatever. So I made the workout very efficient with supersets. And the shoulder presses will be supersetted for 4 sets, 10 to 15. So a very, very similar methodology to what I do in the gym now. And yeah, the purpose behind this actual program was to mimic what I did with weights, but try to push it to the extreme. You might say, man, 10 sets of pull-ups, that sounds extreme. In all actuality, is it really extreme? Like 10 sets of pull-ups and chin-ups, is it really extreme when you consider the amount of tonnage that you would hypothetically lose if you just decided to be a complete pussy and not go balls to the walls? No, like, there's a reason why these calisthenics people they have extremely aesthetic backs. It's because the pull-up, that movement has, it requires a prerequisite for not being a weak little bitch, kind of. So you have to train your way up to it. It's got, I would argue weights are more easier to get into than calisthenics in certain aspects, like such as the flag, however fancy that movement might be. But even dips, like dips were hard as hell when I was younger growing up. But pull-ups, man, like that movement was very, very difficult. And the prerequisite for that, the sheer amount of body strength you have to in order to perform your first pull-up, or like it seems, I can't even speak right now, but the amount of strength you have to have in order to perform your first pull-up, it seems inconceivable. Like how am I gonna be able to do fucking 5 of these shits? Even one of these shits, like let alone 10 of these shits, right? But eventually, like you have to really train over and over and over again to get it correctly, and that's why pull-ups are just incredible. It's like it works the largest portion of the back, and a lot of these calisthenics athletes, like these calisthenic lifters that train, they have really incredible backs. They have incredible backs, and that's because they're doing hours and hours and hours of pull-ups at the park. Well, not hours. Like they're probably not training there for fucking 5 hours, unless they're like chatting with the girls or some shit like that, and girls admiring them or whatever. But yeah, they're performing multiple sets, multiple reps to failure. And that's the logic I was trying to apply. I was trying to apply a bodybuilder logic in a calisthenics program, because a lot of people who train calisthenics, you're very reminiscent to a bodybuilder. You have a bodybuilder physique and upper body, even though your lower body is lacking, because we all know that's a dirty little secret of calisthenics. They have lagging legs, it's what they're going for. Not everyone has the same goals, but my goal was to mimic what I did in the gym, and I ended up progressing in a manner that I was really happy with. I got stronger on certain bodyweight movements, and I didn't shy away from them when I went back in the gym. And I was able to superset pull-ups with another movement, with rows, for the first time ever when I got back to the gym. And I felt stronger than ever. I was moving weight that I didn't think I could move, and I had more of a do or die attitude. I didn't let the fact that gyms were closed stop me. I didn't let the fact that I didn't have access to gyms stop me. I wanted it bad enough, and I went out and get it. And that's the message behind this entire video. Like, if you want something that bad, go out and get it. Don't let someone determine your own path. Don't allow someone to determine your fucking limits. Be like Goku when he fought Beerus at the end. Like we went Super Saiyan God and shit, and he told Beerus straight up, like, yo, you, just because you're a god, it doesn't mean that you get to decide my limits. That's how you should react towards the world around you. Don't let the world dictate you. Don't be a guy that goes with the flow. No, go against the flow, man. Like, march to your own beat. That's it, the video, guys. Hopefully I edit this video to minimize the amount of autism and rambling. But that's about it, guys. Peace.
Choose your fighter.